So, a couple of years ago, now mind you that it is legal to consume THC in Oklahoma if you have a license, and there was a position that someone in the house had obtained in their job, and it changed their position. The new position meant that you had to take management classes. This meant that you were sitting under lights, listening to music while you're studying this stuff about how to be a manager. And the interesting thing was on the weekends, because at the time, this person only did this on occasion, very rarely on the weekends. But I started noticing that every time they would get, mentally stimulated, if the commercials came on television, all of a sudden I'm listening to somebody go on and on about how every commercial and every tone and every sound is designed to make you want to go consume. I already knew this because I had worked in the clubs, many, many moons ago. And that was understanding the frequencies, understanding the tones and stuff so that you can play to your audience is kind of the way of keeping everybody in the club and partying. Or when you go to the casinos, like they even mention it in some of the some of the movies. Percy Sledge, no, not Percy Sledge, not the singer, Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief. They talk about when you're in the casino, like don't eat the flour, and the music and everything is made. Vegas, we all know that that's why none of the places have windows, is so you lose track of time. But it blew my mind that this person was talking about this stuff when they had never spoke about that before. Then, now this was a couple of years ago, so the first thing that I had happen to me was before my doctor's office cut me off the pain meds that I'd been on without a single incident. And it had taken me 8 years to get to the amount of opiates that I was on. And then the funny thing is, while everyone else is freaking out about withdrawals and detoxing, can I please convey to everyone that it took me 15 days to taper off of 100 plus milligrams of time release morphine. Again, our systems are actually set up to cause you so much stress that you are dependent on whatever it is that they're trying to sell you, whether it's the food or the synthetic clothing, because all the synthetic blends, part of the synthetics is the plastics, and those are forever chemicals that are getting into our DNA and messing them up. This is why a lot of people don't activate the actual Christ blood. You hear people praying and they go, you know, in the blood of Christ I pray, through the blood of Christ I pray. Well, as you're ascending, you feel the changes. And, case in point, uh, I'm actually on my third week without food. I feel fine. Actually, I've had more energy. And, it was a principality thing. But the reason why I'm doing this, and no, I didn't just, oh, I'm going to pick a day and go, hey, let's just go. Did not do that. And I'm not a juicer or like heavy water drinker because the water here tastes terrible. But the reason why it hasn't been hurting me, and the reason why I've been praying through my mornings to be full on the inside, was because I got to where I was having to live off of Benadryl. And the sad part about that, besides medical medications that just weren't working on me, besides those that have, they would call it an adverse effect, so it's kind of an allergy but not really. When I had my blood tested, because we were just dumbfounded on why was I having this attack, it turns out that the only thing that I was actually allergic to was roaches. That's crazy and disgusting all at the same time, because again, when you know that about yourself, and then when you have spirits telling you information in order to convey to the general public, it kind of sucks when you're told, like, oh yeah, child, and by the way, the reason why all the food is crap is because of what they're doing to the soil in order to make us sick. And then by you being stressed out, you're not checking off your karmic debts in this timeline, so you would get recycled again as another soul here. That's the weight that, you know, you always hear in the book, or you always hear people saying, like, you got to release this, release this. You've got to drop that spiritual weight. Even if the Father wasn't actually coming to do something spectacular, if you just die of natural causes and you were on, you know, Prozac at the end of your life and you never dealt with any of that stuff, this is what's going to bring you back. It's just a cosmic loop of how things go, and none of us knew this, although the information is clearly there. Again, this is why I got raised weirdly the way I was so that I would learn all this stuff, and then at this time, when it was like, oh, hey, child, you're no longer going to be human. I need you to be in your divine mode. It was like, you got to be kidding me, because the last 2 years I've had to play catch up. Previous to this, I was just like everyone else. So if you've ever questioned if God loved you, if you ever questioned if there was ever something after this, me too. If you had issues, me too. All that stuff. The only difference between me and most people was I just didn't have anyone. There was nobody. So very early on when I was little, I was dependent on the Savior. And that's interesting also as well, because again, I meet him when I'm 4 years old. I was 4. I wasn't this size. I wasn't this big. So this person that you see did not get the dog off of her. However, the interesting thing was I met a ghost that the only way I knew him is you're the guy from the cross. He said it was more important that I knew what he did more so than his name per se. And that is why for me, I can go back and forth. I don't care. Yeshua, Jesus, Messiah, you know, cool dude that paid my way, whatever, but King nonetheless, Savior because of how he did it. And like I said, imagine winning the game of Zelda and you never leveled up. So at the end of it, you have all your lives. You didn't die. You made it from the beginning all the way to the end. And at the end of it, you're holding a little wooden sword. And you do it in less than 6 hours with taking breaks and going to lunch and doing goofy stuff. If you do that, congratulations. That's kind of what Jesus had to do when he was here, to do 33 years without hanging on to resentment, without wanting to punch somebody in the throat. That's what that means. Now, all that fun stuff said, what I wanted to lead up to, hold on, this is fixing to get too long, so I'll be right back.